Haggle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles. Now, breaking news here on a Saturday. Gardner Minshew has been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, listen, here's the deal. I just finished wrapping up an Eagle recap video, which I filmed the full 10 minutes talking about what happened with the Jets game. That's coming up here in just a couple of minutes, but I want to cut into that video and break down the trade, which happened kind of out of nowhere here early on a Saturday morning, literally 5 minutes ago. So here's the report. The Eagles have traded for Jaguars backup quarterback Gardner Minshew. They have given up a 2022 6th-round draft pick that reportedly, according to ESPN's Untitled Chapter, could become a 5th-round draft pick based on incentives and playtime. So essentially, a 6th-round draft pick is the price to go ahead and bring in the backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew. Now, Philadelphia has released Nick Mullins. He didn't do much last night. We talk about it in the video a little bit later on, which means Minshew is firmly set to be most likely the 3rd quarterback behind Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is still in this roster, and he's still going to be probably the number 2 guy because he knows the Nick Sirianni offense, but they bring in an additional quarterback in Gardner Minshew. Minshew, of course, Minshew Mania. I mean, he had a little bit of fun there with the Jaguars pre-Trevor Lawrence. Not bad numbers overall in his career. 2,259 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. QBR, a little bit lower than I think where a lot of people would like that to be, 51.6. That was 27th best in the National Football League this past season, but it brings in another quarterback in terms of what Philadelphia wants to do from a depth perception. I think Philadelphia, the Eagles want 3 quarterbacks. They always want to have 3 solid quarterbacks on their roster, and this seems to go back to the Carson Wentz injury days, whenever they were not sure if Carson Wentz would be able to finish the season. So they wanted to have not just a Nick Foles, but they also wanted to go to have a Nate Sudfeld, a guy who never really saw the football field, yet many people consider to be a pretty darn good backup in his own right. And so I think that they're bringing in Minshew to go ahead and get depth. Howie Roseman always talks about being a quarterback factory, whether you like hearing that or not in Philadelphia. I think it's kind of dumb, but it's what Howie Roseman does. It's his MO, and Gardner Minshew provides an additional body in the quarterback room who can lead you to a win and win a game, heaven forbid, if Jalen Hurts were to be injured. There is no quarterback controversy. Let me say that again. This is not a referendum on Jalen Hurts. This is a referendum on Joe Flacco, to be honest with you. I mean, Flacco had a good night last night, but this is all about how the Eagles want to have depth at a very important position. For whatever reason, Howie Roseman thinks you need 3 instead of 2. That means they'll probably keep 3 on the active roster. There'll be no chance to, move Gardner to the practice squad. It'll be an active roster quarterback for Philadelphia. But again, there is no controversy here. This is not because Hurts struggled in the preseason. Hurts was great in training camp. Everything we've heard is that Jalen Hurts was absolutely fantastic. It's a depth move. It's a move that Jacksonville wanted to make because they like Trevor Lawrence and they already have another backup in there in C.J. Beathard. And it's a move I think that benefits both teams overall. So Philadelphia officially has traded for Gardner Minshew. They give up a 6th that could become a 5th, but I think it's a solid depth move that has no real impact on your Week 1 game against the Falcons because it will be Jalen Hurts going forward. This is not a, Hurts is secretly bad. It's they want to have some depth there in case Flacco is not necessarily the best backup option in Philadelphia. Okay, what is your one-word reaction to the Minshew trade? Give me your one-word reaction to the Gardner Minshew trade down below right now in the comment section. I'll say, fine. I think it's fine. I mean, what's what I say? I think fine move overall. Add some depth there. Give me your one-word reaction down below right now in the comments section. Of course, the full breakdown from the Jets game is coming up right now. Hey, Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Now. It's the weekend, but of course the Eagles played last night, so I'm going to get into the latest Eagles news and rumors following the 31-31 tie between the New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles. What a bizarre ending to that football game. If you were up late watching it, which a lot of people I know checked out, but still, I think a fun game preseason-wise. Not a lot of defense, a lot of offense there, and a lot to go ahead and break down from a Eagle video perspective. And so we jump right into the starters who didn't play. I mean, rest for the starters. I think that we were expecting them not to play going into the game. Then you saw the rain, which delayed the kickoff by an hour, and the bubbles that were happening at MetLife Stadium. It was very clear that they were not going to play. They went through a pretty difficult warm-up. They were in the offensive line was out there running, defensive line was out there running. They had a nice little workout before the game, but the majority of the starters were not out there. It was only Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins, your 2 starters who were playing from a starting position back there with Joe Flacco and the rest of the offense. Jalen Hurts, he's only played once this preseason. It was, of course, the first preseason game. He didn't play the second preseason game due to injury. Well, really, the stomach issue. But then, of course, he didn't play in this game as well, which I honestly think I understand. We'll talk about that in a second. The Eagles, though, and the good news here is that they've stayed healthy. There were a couple of injuries. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes here, but nothing serious. Philadelphia's had a successful offseason so far. And I know, jinx it, knock on wood, whatever it is. But the Steelers, or really, they were the entire NFL. I mean, every single team we talk about. But Philadelphia, I mean, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, another team in Pennsylvania, were able to stay healthy, and that is good news so far for the Eagles. Listen, I get rest in the starters. We talked about the monsoon, like whether that was happening at MetLife Stadium. That happens. Of course, you don't want them to go out there, but I think that we've seen enough of them in joint practices, and that's what Nick Sirianni is focused on. He sees joint practices as actual preseason games. He had multiple days with New England, and of course multiple days with the New York Jets in joint practices all this past week. He feels like the team had 4 or 5 preseason games with the starters playing a lot more than we saw them play on the actual football field. And so I saw enough of them. I think I was disappointed because I want to see Jalen Hurts play a little bit more. I wish he could have played in that second preseason matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but alas, it did, or the New England Patriots, but it did not happen. And so we wait now for week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons on the road at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Let me ask you guys this. Did you see enough of the starters in the preseason? Like, are you fine with what you've seen with the starters? If you have, type Y down below for yes. If you have not, then go down below and type N down below for no. Okay, observation time. We go into our 5 big observations from the game last night. The Eagles running backs can play. The Eagles running backs might be their most strong position group, minus the offensive line on the offensive side of the football. I mean, Boston Scott is the number 2 back, and it's crazy to talk about this because we were talking about how, oh, Kerryon Johnson, oh, Kenny Gainwell, oh, Jordan Howard. No, Boston Scott might be the number 2 back on this roster. Now, Howard didn't play in this game, so maybe he is the number 2 guy, but Scott has continued time and time again to prove why he is one of the great stories in Philadelphia the past couple of seasons. He just won't go away. And he made a great play last night on that catch and run for a touchdown. He is absolutely fantastic. And then we give credit to Kenny Gainwell. And Kenny Gainwell, who is a rookie and a 5th-round draft pick, and a lot of people passed on him. There were a lot of teams that needed a running back and did not take him. He fell down to Philadelphia, who I didn't think was really looking for a running back. He, again, was fantastic last night. I think Gainwell is going to be a big part of this offense, especially catching the football. The Eagles truly have 4 really good running backs in Sanders, Howard, Boston Scott, and Kenny Gainwell, and I'm pumped to see what they're going to be able to do week 1 against a pretty weak Falcon defense. They have good linebackers and decent young cornerbacks, but that front four in Atlanta minus Grady Jarrett's not that good. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles can run all over them behind that star offensive line and these really, really good running backs. Now, it doesn't really matter because they're going to move people around. Who do you think is the number 2 running back on this roster? Is it Kenny Gainwell? Is it Boston Scott? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Type KG down below for Kenny Gainwell. Type BS down below for Boston Scott. Who do you think will get the second most touches behind a guy like Miles Sanders, who, of course, is the clear number 1? Okay, number 2 observation. The Joe Flacco haters had a rough night. And there were a lot of Joe Flacco haters following the the New England Patriot game a couple of days ago, really a week ago, or over a week ago. But Flacco was really good last night, and credit where credit is due, albeit against backups. But he was 13 of 16 for a $188, threw 2 touchdowns, at that 155.2, quarterback rating. This depth chart is very clearly going to be Joe Flacco number 2, and then probably Nick Mullins on the practice squad. Maybe they signed somebody else. Mullins didn't have a bad night either. I think he was pretty accurate in his passes, completed a lot of them as well. But for all those wondering if Flacco is truly the answer, and did they overpay for backup quarterback, I think he showed last night we have a little bit of confidence in him if you need a Nick Foles-like scenario where he comes in and wins you a couple of games, if heaven forbid Jalen Hurts were to go ahead and get injured. But Flacco, again, had a good night, and credit are there where credit is due. Okay, before we keep going, give a quick shout out to our friends at BetUS and your chance to get in on our crazy betting promo that tons of people are DMing me about on Twitter. It's very simple. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Use that promo code EAGLES125. Get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up, which means put $100 down, turns into $225 for you to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Sixers whenever they come back, whatever you guys want to do, whatever you want to bet on. I would just bet on the Eagles, but do with it as you will. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet. That promo code is EAGLES125. It's the best betting deal you're going to have right now. It's absolutely fantastic. If you never bet on football games before, now's your chance to get the deposit bonus when signing up with us. Okay. We got to go to our next observation, and that is, did Arcega-Whiteside save his roster spot last night? Caught the touchdown pass on a great little double move where he was able to work away from a cornerback when Joe Flacco scrambled to the right. He had a couple of nice catches on the other side of the football as well. So Whiteside, again, albeit has not been a big name so far in the preseason, he has had some decent training camps. I think he saved his roster spot last night. Like, I truly think that he was able to go ahead and save his roster spot. 2 catches on 2 targets for 52 yards. All he did is catch the football, because Whiteside's been able to create space throughout his career in Philadelphia. It's the drops that have been the real problem, and the total disappearance of his abilities as well. I think he might have saved his roster spot last night. He will be the 5th or 6th wide receiver, because I think they're going to keep 6. I think he has secured his place in Philadelphia. Now, that leads us into the 4th observation, that is, Fulgham has fumbled this entire summer. He had a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown yesterday, which, of course, is a massive issue and is not going to go well for his chance to make the roster, but he has been really bad this preseason. And the fact he's playing late in these preseason games is an indicator that he has not played well in training camp and has very much lost his opportunity to be a starter. We had crowned him a starter in the Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver depth chart room at the start of the season, and it's no more. I mean, 3 targets and 1 catch and a fumble in the preseason is not going to go ahead and do it. Quez Watkins has played better. Whiteside has played a little bit better. Obviously, a guy like Greg Ward has played better as well. Fulgham might make the roster. If he does, he's the last receiver. I would keep Fulgham over Hightower because Hightower has done absolutely nothing this year, but it's close, and Fulgham did not do anything to help out his chances last night in that tie. I'm going to say win, but tie against the New York Jets. It's disappointing because we were all really excited about Travis Fulgham. Maybe he figures things out, but for a head coach, Nick Sirianni, that's focused on wide receivers and gotten Jalen Rigger and Quez Watkins and Devontae Smith to look pretty darn good, it was not a good night for Fulgham and not a good preseason for the young wide receiver as a whole. Okay, which wide receiver are you guys predicting gets cut? I think it's going to be John Hightower. I think Hightower is your odd man out. That is my prediction. Give me your prediction for which wide receiver gets cut down below right now in the comment section. Speaking of cuts, that leads us into our final observation. Cuts are coming, and they're coming quickly, and they're going to come on Tuesday. August 31st is your day when you go from 80 down to 53. Remember, it was 90 plus, down to 85, down to 80, and then they're going to move all the way down to the 53-man roster. And so, as we mentioned, cuts are coming, and there are going to be some pretty interesting cuts to make. Like, which running backs are they going to keep? Does Elijah Holyfield, he got a lot of carries last night, make the practice squad? Does Jordan Howard make the roster? What does you do at wide receiver? Travis Fulgham, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, John Hightower? Those are all question marks right now from a cut perspective. What about the cornerback spot? What about the linebacker spot? They have a lot of linebackers on this roster right now. What do you do at defensive end? I mean, there are a lot of cuts that are going to be made, and the interesting thing here is going to be who is cut and never comes back, who is cut and moved to the practice squad, because you get, 15, 16 practice squad players with the new NFL rules, and then, of course, who is signed from other practice squads who have been cut. You got to look around the rest of the National Football League. Maybe someone gets cut that you liked during the NFL draft prospect, or maybe he was an undrafted free agent for a different team, and you go ahead and sign. So this is all going to happen on Tuesday, and we are going to have you guys covered on that. On Tuesdays, we're going to break down every single cut and the final 53-man roster that happens with our Philadelphia Eagles, so stay tuned for that, right? So, again, Eagles running backs can play, our first observation. Flacco haters had a rough night last night because Joe Flacco, albeit, as old as he is, did play well. Whiteside might have saved his roster spot. There's a chance that he went ahead and saved his roster spot. Fulgham, the fumble's not going to help. He's fumbled away the entire summer, I should say. It's not been a good year so far for Travis Fulgham. And then the fact that cuts are coming looms large for guys like Whiteside, for guys like Jordan Howard, for guys like Travis Fulgham. I mean, these are all guys who could be let go in the next couple of days. I think Howard and Fulgham, and they all make it, but it's going to be tight for the rest of the roster. Okay, ultimate for today here on our Philadelphia Eagles Now News and Rumors video reacting to the Eagles' tie to the Jets last night. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We reached 20,000 subs. We're trying to get 21,000 subscribers here on the channel and make it one of the fastest growing and continuing fast growing Eagle channels on the platform. I think we're right there at the top. I love the content that we get to put out every single day, but we appreciate you guys and all the subscribers. So if you have subscribed, thank you very much. If you have not, go down below and help us out by hitting that red subscribe button. You won't be disappointed because we have plenty, I'm telling you, plenty of more coverage coming up the next couple of days and weeks here as the NFL season is literally, 15 days away because today's Saturday. Tomorrow will be 14 days away from the opener down in Atlanta against the Atlanta Falcons. All right, ultimate for today here on our Philadelphia Eagles News and Rumor video. I am your host, Thomas Mons. We go ahead and sign off. It's the weekend, so get outside, enjoy the rest of your weekend, stay safe. We'll see you guys on Monday for our next video.